We're going to make some core memories in Core Keeper. We would burn down Concord, but Sony's doing it for us. Age of Mythology Retold is going to burn us down with its fire giants. Hopoo is going to goat leg it to Valve, and Gearbox is going to ruin their franchise. Then we talk about the awesome game coming in early access, The Forever Winter.
Hi, I'm Nick, and a few days ago I found a praying mantis on my wall, and it was there for 7 hours, so I decided to take it down and put it in the yard. It was calm until it got in the yard, and then it flew on me and attacked me, and I don't really know if I helped it or harmed it, and to this day it'll probably just haunt me forever.
Hi, I'm Josh, and if you want to meet Keanu Reeves, just kill a dog.
And I'm Andy. This is Video Game Tango. Spirit fingers!
Spirit fingers. It's like I have to be quiet, but I don't have to stop moving.
That's right. My fingers make a lot of noise, so I have to completely shut down during our noise floor.
Andy's fingers are full of crickets.
Full of bees, actually.
Yeah, the classic. Yeah. Hello, everybody.
Hi.
They're just thick sausages that slap around each other.
And sausages are what? Preserved meat. And the meat is what?
Bees. Well, hey, this is a video game podcast where we're going to talk about video games here shortly. How are you guys doing?
Swell.
Oh, I thought you were asking the audience. I was
No,
waiting
I'm
for
talking
them to
about you
respond. Hello, everybody.
Hi.
I'm good. Yeah, we're talking about video games. We've been talking about everything else for the last 2 hours.
Yep.
We're starting off with some kind of kept core. I
Yes,
believe,
indeed, sir.
Right. I have my notes in order. So, as of August 27th, a game that has been in early access now for, I think, 2, maybe 3 years. Core Keeper has come out. I was able to get my hands on it and play 10 or so hours to get a feel for it. At first glance, what is this? It's a survival game, right? I think a better explanation, as given by Co-Carnage, is a sandbox boss rush game, which needs work. But it does define this kind of game. It's like V Rising. It's like Valheim. You play in a sandbox environment, and when you are ready, you fight the next boss that unlocks more content, in which case you then play more in the sandbox, and so on and so forth. This game isn't quite as boss-gated as something like V Rising or even Valheim, but I went into it thinking, okay, looks great. It's got some really good pixel graphics. Clearly a game meant for multiplayer, but I was able to enjoy it single player. And as I was really going to this blind, I didn't look into anything. After the initial opening few hours and learning the basics of the game and getting to the next couple degrees of technology, I realized, this game's got a metric butt ton of meat on it. It could have been like any other survival sandbox game that's come out in the last couple of years. This game has clearly spent the last 2 years in early access doing the right thing. There's easily hundreds of hours of content in here, like games like Terraria or Minecraft or Satisfactory or Valheim, and it plays well. It has a lot of really good quality of life improvements that games have been developing over the last few years. It doesn't have all of them, but it has a good enough amount that I was satisfied with it. It does have a kind of unique mechanic where when you dig up the ground, you actually dig out like the whole block, like you leave a void behind. So you can actually make like little mazes or block passages to enemies just by literally digging the ground in combat, which I thought was kind of neat. One nice little thing this game has, other ones don't, is that the terrain type determines what spawns there. And it's pretty inherent just through playing the game. You quickly realize, if I go collect a bunch of this terrain, I can make monster spawners that spawn on that type of terrain.
Gotcha.
So I was able to farm mushroom men and mushrooms for food cooking just by gathering a bunch of like mushroom ground and then making a little room for it, and then I made like a void around it and put some traps in front, and I got a little minor automated thing. And that led me to the next part where I realized, there's conveyor belts and robot arms and automated drills and logic gates and everything you'd expect in Minecraft or Satisfactory. And this game, I don't think it expects you to, but is very, very easily access to the sense of automation, right? Mm-hmm. You could eventually get, I'm assuming, the majority of the content automated if you went that far with it. I saw a video of a guy setting up a specific monster farm to automate enemies with range attacks, to put them on conveyor belts, to have them travel through like a tourist destination, to shoot enemies that don't have ranged attacks, to then collect their loot, right? But no, it's really cool. It is way bigger than I thought. I thought I'd explored a decent majority of the map. I had barely entered the second biome. There's like 10 biomes. I was really enjoying what I was playing of it. Definitely a game that's going to shine in multiplayer. It does not push you. So if you are the kind of person that likes single player games in this genre, I think this is a really solid fit if you haven't already tried it. There's really no pressure to move quickly. You have no time limits or anything like that. But by having multiple people play, that's really nice. The game just hit 1.0. It does have some hiccups. Currently, there is a smattering of different types of problems connecting in multiplayer that might change soon. Again, this just came out last week in 1.0. I'm sure they're going to have some major bug fixes. The mage and summoner gear and classes are undertuned compared to the ranged and melee classes, but again, that can be changed. It's fun. It's really nice going to a game like this blind where I'm like digging up items. I'm like, oh, the obsidian talisman, and then it's got flavor text. I'm like, I don't know what that does yet. I'm putting that in a chest, and then I find out later, oh, that's what that does, you know. But it is also the kind of game that if you so wish, there are wikis available. You get stuck, you can look up what a certain thing does or where a certain thing spawns. So yeah, very good. I believe it has up to 8-player co-op. Cross-play is a potential. It's currently only $16 on Steam. I'm almost positive it's available on consoles. I could be wrong. But yeah, 8 gigs of RAM, Windows 10, i5 processor, GeForce,
Yeah, I can't
GTX
imagine.
460. It's really not
modest.
that bad.
Modest.
The reviews are great, and yeah, I am looking forward to maybe getting the potential to play that multiplayer with some people. Because as much as I like it, I will probably set it aside single player just because I have other things to do. But yeah,
Sure.
Honestly, dude, that looks like the coolest fucking Super Nintendo game ever.
it really does,
Like,
and it plays like it too. It looks like an old Super Nintendo game with the graphics boosted.
Yeah, it looks fucking dope. And it has a little bit of everything because it's standing on the shoulders of giants that came before it. But yeah, honestly, that speaks to the kid in me. I like it.
Dope. Yeah. No, it reminds me a lot of Necess, but that's because it's kind of recent in memory. Less combat focused, it looks like, and more like of
This
an
is
adventure.
more
and-
combat focused than Necess.
Is it
was.
really?
Necess,
Interesting.
I mean, I like Necess, but it's by trying to straddle city management with sandbox boss rush gameplay, it kind of does both fine, right? I've now played through Necess like 3 times, and it's constantly getting updates. I really like the dev. I've talked to him a few times on his Discord, and I've been following his progress. He's doing a great job. But that is like very much almost like a solo project kind of game.
Yeah.
This one has polish.
Yeah.
And it's fucking gorgeous. I kept looking at the water, just like, wow, how did they pull this off in
Yeah.
pixel art?
Yeah.
There's like splashes and reflections and
No, it is really interesting. If it's not all custom assets, I'd like to know how they get that effect.
Unreal Engine.
Yeah.
You think pixel game, you think, okay, any engine can handle a pixel game, but some of the new technologies the last 5-10 years that the newer, Frostbite, Unreal, I mean, even Unity, allow for things that you wouldn't expect in a 2D game that is really making these games pop. So
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. About the platforms that it's on, I did check it out. It's PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. I'm surprised it's not on the Switch. This looks like a game that it really needs
it'd
to
be
be
perfect
on
for the Switch.
I know.
Maybe they just didn't have the time to code for it.
Very possibly, yeah. There would have to be a lot of work to do a port for that game for the Switch. It's not x86 like the rest of them are. So, yeah, definitely. Moving on, let's talk about a game that we kind of universally panned right off the bat after having checked out its preview. And we did watch the early trailers, gameplay, and theatrical. That's Concord. I think you know where this is going.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we our initial thoughts on the game before release were that it was just kind of unimpressive. Our thoughts on it after release were again that it was unimpressive. And it seems that so did everybody else, including Sony. Sony announced just yesterday that Concord was going to be completely removed from all platforms and that they'd be issuing refunds. Refunds have been going out today, and yeah.
At least they're doing refunds, man. You know what? If it bombs hard and you refund it, then fine, whatever, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. Yeah. Speak your thoughts. Steam, Epic, PlayStation Store, they have all been issuing refunds. Not everybody has received their refunds yet, but there is confirmation of some refunds already having gone out. They're completely shuttering the game for now. That's not to say that it couldn't come back. They did say that they just didn't deliver clearly what the community that they were pushing to wanted. And there could be further development on the game, or, maybe they're pulling a Final Fantasy 14. Final Fantasy 14 in its first. Yeah, probably not. You're right.
Yeah.
But, let's throw a positive spin out. Maybe. And maybe it'll come back in a completely great manner. Probably not. All that said, yeah, I mean, if you're going to pull a game, I guess they did it right. I do feel bad for the studio. It's like, this game was 8 years in development, apparently. It's all like ex-Bungie and Activision devs. And for them to fall short on an arena shooter is like, honestly, arena shooters right now are a dime a dozen. And there are a lot of really good ones. The release, man, it was so really poorly timed release, I think, and also the marketing behind the game. I didn't know what Concord was, or hadn't heard any news of it until they came out with that theatrical trailer, and it had been in development for 8 years. Yeah. This is the kind of game that you want to get into people's hands for early access and figure out your tuning before launch, and maybe give your characters some kind of development. Like we talked about this before, but when we saw the first Overwatch trailer, all of us decided we were going to play Overwatch, right? And that was a theatrical trailer, but it's Activision Blizzard trailer, so it was awesome and awe-inspiring.
It was also Blizzard's first IP in 1,000 years.
That's fairly true.
That helps.
Fairly true. Yeah. But once gameplay started popping up, it's like, oh yeah, dude, that looks fucking sick, because it did. Concord put out their first theatrical trailer, which tried to do the same thing that Overwatch trailer did, but fell flat. And then they put out a similar style game that Overwatch is, and it fell flat. And it's just like, why you have to get this in more people's minds, because we're looking forward to Spectre Divide, Deadlock, X-Defiant, Smite 2. If you look at the amount of arena shooters that are coming out, the amount of MOBAs that are coming out, and all of them have these super recognizable, or at least endearing or developed characters, where yours doesn't, it's gonna fall. And I don't. It's such a weird launch, man. The fact that we didn't know about it it came out 2 months after the initial announcement. That's crazy.
Also, I literally cannot remember one character.
Right.
Not one.
We learned about Doomfist in the first trailer for Overwatch, and I remembered who that character was when he launched. I was like, oh my God, that's sick.
He's here, right? Yeah.
That giant gauntlet, that comes with a character. So yeah.
If this game has been in development for 8 years, that means they started it in 2016, which was 40 years ago. Yeah. In a lot of senses, right?
Yep.
And it was kind of closer to the height of arena shooters, MOBAs, brawlers, things like that, right? But if a game is taking you 8 years to develop, that means that you had too many stumbling blocks along the way.
Yeah.
8 years in modern AAA gaming space is dead. Yeah. It does not equate to even dog years, right? You cannot make something like what amounts to now considered an Overwatch clone and then release it. Given the many conversations we've had about the competition of evergreen games, right? If you're going to release a game that is similar enough to another evergreen game that it's hard to tell them apart, you've already lost, because that game has had 5, 10, 15, 20 years of time to perfect it. Fortnite, Minecraft, Overwatch, Apex, right? What are you offering that people don't already have, that they don't have the sunk cost fallacy,
right?
or even just real enjoyment? I've been playing this game for 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 years. Why should I play your game? Especially when your game isn't free at launch.
Yeah.
Like Apex or Overwatch essentially was at some point, I don't know what they expected. I think they probably had, I'm guessing, I don't know anything, many stumbling blocks over 8 years as it kept pivoting, and the art team and the design team and all of them keep working, creating assets, and the coding team are doing their best. And then the money people are just like, oh, let's follow this trend. Let's follow that trend. Oh, firing, hiring, internal conflict. Who knows? But like 8 years tells me that a lot of things went wrong.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Games take 3 to 5 years to make in a good sense in a AAA space. If they're taking longer than that, you're either doing something bombastic or you're having problems.
Yeah.
So
it's just, it's just an amalgamation of really bad things. Yeah. Not to say that the game is bad. The people that have played the game say that the gameplay is great.
All 12 of them.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, is like,
if the gameplay was great, they wouldn't have immediately shut it.
Yeah.
It didn't
I agree.
flop because they didn't advertise it enough. It flopped because of a combination of things. But the thing is if the game is fantastic,
it'll break.
People will play it.
Yeah.
Sometimes, right? The game has to be good for
I also think
through.
I also think those reviews are influenced by the fact that there's so few people playing it, that the people that are having fun are trying to get people into it, you know?
Yeah, but if the game's good or great, that's fine. But Apex and Overwatch and Counter-Strike and Valorant already exist. So this game cannot touch each of those four that are in the same genre.
For sure.
So it might be great, but the other ones are fantastic.
Yep.
Which means, okay, some people are enjoying the game, but like, why eat a B+ meal when an A+ meals are out there right now?
100%.
You know, so.
Yep. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Today I mean, the statistics are all just bad. Today, 68 people played it on Steam, and this is the day that they're closing the servers. Like, it's in the news cycle. It's in the zeitgeist. Right now, the physical copies are being sold for over $1,000 on eBay because they're an instant collector's item, right? Yeah. So,
if the game was free to play at the start, they would have been 6,800 people playing it.
100%. You know? Yeah. And if it was truly good, you would have built an audience. It would have been a hard grind to get that audience, but you know, if there was less barrier to entry, you would have had more people from the start. So asking a $40 price, which I'm surprised it's $40 considering that it's published by Sony.
That is cheap for a Sony game.
Yeah.
But I also, Sony aside, like, I do hate on a side concept that yet another game coming out that isn't free to play flopped.
Right. I know.
Because we don't want more people thinking free to play is the only method to go. But it's a small thing compared to the whole fucking cabbage fire that is this game.
The thing is did it have a battle pass model?
I'm sure. I'd bet money on it.
If it didn't have one, I'm sure one would have come, right?
Well, like, if that's the idea that I'm paying $40 for this, and then I'm still going to have...
It does not have a battle pass as of July of this year.
Right.
Okay. So if it wasn't going to have a battle pass, like, now if it has a free thing, like where you earn it by playing, that's one thing. I'm more down with that, you know? But if I'm paying $40... well, then I do not want to have to pay in-game more to get in-game currency to then buy the battle pass to have a shot at getting some of the cool items. And I'm not going to want to pay a lot of money for extra skins. I want to be able to have a chance to earn the good skins and maybe spend like a few bucks, like $3 to get 12 skins, not $15 for one. So, like, I mean, if it had those things, I can see it being $40, but I'm not doing the other things. Like, otherwise, that shit needs to be free because I'm spending all my money on your DLC, your skins, your, like, what's, you know. So I feel like that is an important distinction. Do we know if it had that?
It's hard because there's so much news about Concord. I did see that there was a deluxe edition. It was $60, which gives you 3 days early access and a number of cosmetic items. But I'm sure there was an in-game store. There had to have been.
I mean, there didn't have to have been because it's a $40 title. But
it's a Sony.
I think it's inevitable if it wasn't built in already.
It does say there was planned microtransactions. They were purely cosmetic. So, I mean.
So if they didn't have them off the bat, they probably would have been coming.
Sorry. No, dude. Then give me your game for free. You're going to get your money out of me in the transactions then. Why do I have to keep paying for the game?
Now, at the end of the day, it hurts to say things like, you didn't go with the free model, so of course you failed. When you know we definitely want to promote like just paying for good games.
Yeah,
but it's kind of true in this case. If they had come out and they had had a free model, then I think they would have had a lot more players. And again, if it were truly good, you'd be getting more.
Saved it.
No, not necessarily.
I have no idea how the game played. I don't want to like touch on it because I have no opinion.
Man, I guess you're right. The more I think about it, like you're saying, it's like, man, that kind of sucks to say. But I mean, if they're going to do microtransactions anyway, if that's going to be part of the plan,
that's some Ubisoft level shit.
Charge
me for the game and then charge me more for a fucking
that
scarf.
that feels fucked up, you know? Let me find that fucking scarf.
Yeah.
You know?
Horse armor. Well, hey, getting away from horse armor, why don't we talk about horses in
the olden times where they actually had armor?
That's what I was going to say.
I knew where you were going. I was like, I'll save him. Age of Mythology Retold. I wasn't going to talk about this one originally, but then I saw a friend of the cast, Yoda, playing it, and I watched some stuff on it, read some reviews, and I was pleasantly surprised. So, Age of Empires is a game that most of you will know if you ever PC gamed ever. Age of Mythology was this early 2000s spin-off that was kind of a cult classic. They were like, what if we mix some ancient mythologies, not just Greek, but other ones, Atlantean, Egyptian, other things like that, into an RTS. And as of games of that era, like it was just a thing. Like, how do you review a game that time? Well, they remade it, remake, whatever you want to call it. I'm pretty sure it's a remaster because the game is still very much the original Age of Mythology. But going off of what Yoda said and reading through some of these reviews, let me read you the first sentence of a handful of reviews here. This game should be considered as a golden standard for what remasters should be. Absolutely love the original. This just brings back good memories. This is how you do remakes. Just as fun as I remembered. Absolutely nailed it. Wonderful game so far. Devs clearly took time developing a good remaster. It's apparently a very, very, very well done remaster. Looking up any video reviews or even Steam reviews on this shows that they basically said, let's keep the game core as close as we can, but fix bugs, make it prettier, and make it more available and easier to play. And they did that. There are obviously some minutia. There was some DLC pantheons you could pick from that had some major problems in the original. Yoda was telling me they updated those. And having watched some gameplay, it looks like a really solid RTS in an age where every 3 months someone says the RTS genre is dead. You know. But yeah, Age of Mythology Retold. It is available on Games Pass for free if you have that. Awesome. Otherwise, it is $30 for the standard edition on Steam. $50 if you want to get a soundtrack and a portrait pack. And I think access.
That motherfucker will be on sale 20% off next month in the fall sale.
The premium upgrades do include the next 2 DLCs for free because you're already paying for them. But yeah, it's not as egregious as some other games we mentioned recently. But yeah, it's really nice to see, especially after like Warcraft Reforged and the like some of the Diablo 2 remakes and shit like that. Somebody be like, hey, let's just remake classic from 20 years ago. God, it was 20 years ago. Classic from 20 years ago and do it justice.
We were LANing Age of Mythology at our Warcraft LANs
change the subjects.
20 years ago. Well, I mean, it's World of Warcraft's 20th anniversary coming next month. So
I need to pee. Got a small bladder now that I'm old.
Yeah, we used to LAN World of Warcraft, fellas and fellettes. Same with Age of Mythology.
Not that word.
We're using fellettes.
Close. Too close. Yeah, Age of Mythology Retold. If you like RTSs, if you like Greek mythology, if you like the original, if you want to check out what a really good remaster looks like, check it out.
Yeah, for sure.
Came
Next
out
up,
today.
What?
Came out today. Just want to throw that out there.
Today as of recording, September 4th.
September 4th.
Yes. So this one for me is a little bit bittersweet.
Yeah.
So Hopoo Games, known for Risk of Rain and Risk of Rain 2, they've stopped work on their in development game that was unannounced as of yet, called Snail. No real news on Snail previously. Again, it was unannounced until they made this new announcement. that most or at least some of Hopoo Games was going to be going to Valve. So the two head developers, Duncan Drummond and Paul Morse, announced that they would be taking many team members with them to join Valve. This is after they sold their property Risk of Rain 2 to Gearbox Games just 2 years ago in 2022. They've been working on this new title, and I guess they're done, and they're just going to Valve. That's exciting because I think they're very good developers. They're the list of games they have, Risk of Rain and Risk of Rain 2, has been phenomenal. I didn't play any Risk of Rain, but I know it had a pretty rabid fan base, enjoyed by many. Risk of Rain 2, though, was recommended to me by Nick and his brother, and I played the ever-living shit out of that game. I think I have over 1,000 hours in Risk of Rain. Yeah. That might have been my comfort game.
There you go.
Yeah. I actually love that game. It was a great way to spend like 30, 40 minutes, you know? But yeah, the gameplay was awesome, and loved it dearly. But yeah, again, it got sold to Gearbox Studios in 2022. And Nick, you're a little bit more learned on the subject than I am as far as what's come out from Gearbox since.
So this is a bit of a mess. It's one of those convoluted internecine webs that is a little hard to follow. What I did do is I talked to my brother, who read and watched quite a bit on it, and I skimmed through some videos of some old Risk of Rain 2 streamers, notably Wooly, Woolie. Let me put it this way. Wooly put out a video of a tier list of the bugs in the current DLC. It's a half-hour long.
A bug tier list. Okay.
A bug tier list.
I love it.
If I can boil this down from what I gathered between them and Adam, is that Risk of Rain 2 on the PC had a code base, and then the consoles had a separate code base, specifically almost entirely because the consoles ran at 30 FPS and PCs run at not necessarily 30 FPS. To cut technical jargon down, to keep it simple, a lot of the game's code is tied to FPS for very simple, standard reasons that make sense if you look into it, but it can cause problems. So for a while, and again, this is what I'm told, different code bases, console, PC. Gearbox got a hold of the game in 2022, started developing this DLC, and for whatever reason, smashed the two together like a pie in a face. And it immediately erupted into a radiated mess, as one can expect when you smash two code bases together. Gearbox, I don't have any quotes on hand because I don't really wish to call them out too bad, but they don't have seemingly the best opinion about other people's opinions that their game is bad. And by bad, I mean there are so many bugs right now that literally brick your game. That they include things like if you plug in a second controller on the console, it wipes your save file. If you get certain items, the bosses are invincible. Certain other things make it so that you can't get past the main menu.
That sounds like an Alone in the Dark joke.
Yes.
Like, yeah, it does.
This game went from great and fun and playable to literally like you can't play it right now until they resolve some of this stuff. Gearbox, I mean... Is that Randy Pitchford?
Yeah, Randy Pitchford. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's not what I said.
I know.
Who knows? He's not to blame. He's not the one who coded the game. No. I don't know what happened. They probably didn't have enough time, not enough money, problems. These things happen. You're transferring a game from one studio, Hopoo Games, to Gearbox. But still had 2 years. This does not look good, especially for a smaller indie game that no one expected a sequel to, let alone a 3D one that was kind of like a entire imagining of the game that was once a 2D pixel-based side-scroller. That said, the remaster of Risk of Rain 1, which came out a handful of months ago, fantastic.
Good.
You know, that's out there. I wish all the best of luck to all the Hopoo devs that are moving over to Valve. Maybe you're going to work on Deadlock, maybe something new. Make Warcraft 4. Make another RTS. Just blow everybody's minds.
No, it's just so sad to see it go into these, what some people would consider AAA hands. And then for them to put out a quality of significantly lesser, or a product of significantly lesser quality. Because honestly, dude, Risk of Rain 2 came out, and then it's had like 2 major updates as far as like new content. And all of it's been super good. I've had no complaints. There's been some like balancing issues and stuff along the way, but nothing that they weren't able to patch out or fix relatively quickly after it was realized. And it's been a clear labor of love from this team for so long.
It is the third-person shooter roguelite.
Yeah, 100%.
There's nothing that comes close to fitting this exact genre.
No, I think anybody looking to make something in the same genre needs to take a lot of notes from Risk of Rain 2. Because the gameplay loop is phenomenal. The graphics are incredible. The soundtrack is just wildly good. And for a game that is essentially the same experience over and over and over again, it has a lot of fucking variety. It doesn't make sense until you play it, but it's very, very good.
Don't play it now, because when I asked Adam how his first round went, he said, oh, there's an enemy now that if it takes any damage, it reflects it. So anytime your attack's chained to other enemies, you just die. So
that's so like to the base game.
Yeah, like imagine all the items in the game that cause chain or AoE damage. If that hits this new enemy, it just 100% reflects it back to you. Like,
there's no way you can survive that.
You can't control it because you can't control. Yeah, like
you put out so much more damage to the enemies.
A tier list of bugs.
I love that. You know what I love is those kinds of tier lists, man.
Yeah.
With the War Within coming out, the World of Warcraft subreddit is making a tier list of tier lists for all of the classes. So
so this guy's tier list is a B.
Yeah. I love that. Fun. So on from tier lists. Nick, you got one more game that we want to talk about this evening.
I do. Is this the Forever Winter?
Yes. We've talked about it before.
We're
but
switching gears. And this is a gear I like. This is a gear that costs very little gas. It's very efficient. It is fun. They actually pay you to drive in this gear. This is the Love gear. Analogy, gone too far. The Forever Winter, a game we've talked about in the past, as described on Steam in their copy. It is a co-op tactical survival horror shooter where you and your squad must loot the dead to survive under the shadow of terrifying and gargantuan war machines locked in a never-ending conflict. You are not the cool guy. You are a schlub trying to exist in a post-apocalyptic future. But what this recent update talked about was not the game. It was, as far as I understand, one of the lead devs of the game, if not the head of the studio, talking in character, in-game engine, to talk about a bunch of real-world things and how they feel about the game industry in the general, their plans for early access, and they do it in a way that I cannot ever picture a AA or AAA studio talking. I unfortunately did not take notes. Well, I did, and then I forgot and left them at home. But what this video basically talks about is, hey, here's our plan moving forward. We are planning on an early access. It is starting September 24th. Going forward, we have received a lot of good information from all the people playing in the closed access and through the Discord. We have absolutely zero plans on any monetization that includes anything other than cosmetics. So to break that down, cosmetics only. If you want to buy them, great. You're supporting the dev. Just like Deep Rock Galactic, they will have like DLC quote-unquote packs that are just cosmetics if you want to give them more money to continue funding the game. They even had a moment of silence for 3 games that have recently been delisted. Spec Ops: The Line, which is a game that should be in museums for what it attempted to do at the time. If you don't know anything about it, Google it, Spec Ops: The Line. Handful of others. The devs and at least the guy speaking this video shows that this is a guy who cares about video games. He says, remember that time you would go into a computer store and buy a boxed copy of Giant Citizen Kabuto or Command and Conquer, and you'd bring it home and read the manual in the car, and you owned the entire fucking game, and you could install it and play it as much as you wanted, and your friends could play it with you as much as they wanted. That's the kind of game this guy wanted to make. From the get-go, you are not going to require some server to connect you to play online. Day one, the servers won't work because of flooding, right? If you ever want to, you can play solo whenever. You can set up personal LANs and servers to play with your friends, and that will never be removed. This guy is just like spitting honey out of his mouth with like all the promises that we've ever wanted out of big companies, saying we are making this game out of love and salt and blood and effort, and it is showing. I really hope to get my hands on it soon. Hopefully the computer I have can
September
run
24th.
it. Yeah. Couldn't be farther away. But playing as a sub who has to survive in this badass looking thing, it's right at my alley, right? So
It almost seems like a guy in the van offering candy. Like it's too good to be
Yeah,
true,
too good to be
right?
true.
he's like, not only are you going to buy the game, we're also going to suck your dick and give you a lottery ticket.
It's just like, oh my God, it just seems too good to be true. And everything looks so fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And so I know I said a week ago, don't buy early access. That's silly. But every once in a while, there's an exception to the rule, and I think this might be it.
Yeah.
How if you listen to the cast, that we're big fans of Baldur's Gate 3 here because it was an excellently done game. This seems like it could be in that vein, and if we can just get a couple of them to do well at a decent price, it's like, hey, you know what? You want to support the game. What we need is $37.
I think it was $27 for early access.
$27 for early
I
access,
believe $40 full retail
That's
price.
right.
Right?
Yeah.
You want to pay more? We got a deluxe edition, to help us support. Awesome. That's cool. Full game, full maps, all the guns. Like, for what?
Yeah.
Sorry, it was $50. 50 USD for the game,
Okay.
$27 for early access.
Early access, right? So,
Price.
Yeah.
I mean, this man's from a timeline where Harambe wasn't killed.
Yes,
You know,
he's
like, Jesus.
traveled through the realms. He's the savior from an alternate future where the Emoji movie was never made.
No, I mean, I've never been so excited about a game without ever really seeing a whole lot about the game. It's awesome. Like, it looks cool. There's like giant machines and you do feel tiny in the world. So there's a lot about the game that seems cool, but gosh dang it, if it ain't the dev team that got me falling in love.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, honestly, I think I was going to play this game right from the
Regardless.
get.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, small indie developer, small team, making something that is so off the beaten path and unique and interesting. I think it was a foregone conclusion that I was already going to be playing this game. If they can deliver everything that they talked about in this announcement trailer for early access, then I'm sold on the team as well. Yeah. So even beside a good game, I want to support these developers in their acts of I would say I almost say altruism, but just
it is. I mean, they could easily
it's altruistic,
but
it should be the norm.
Yeah.
Like it should not be the exception to the rule. It should be the
true.
rule. So I wouldn't even call it altruism. I'd just say that they're doing it the way I think it should be done for the most part.
Yeah, they're trying to compete in a different way, and that's what's awesome. It's like, we're really going for a quality thing here. We want to earn your play, so.
It's almost like they looked at all these evergreen games and said, "Let's make something different."
Well, and dude, we look at we've seen a few trailers for this game, and we've showed them on the show. And if you're listening to the podcast, we're showing a little bit of gameplay footage. This is just mostly a talking head video, though.
Yeah.
That said, we've showed plenty of footage, and every time that I see anything come out about this game, the footage is all new to me. Like, I see some of it reused, but never the same exact shot for shot. Definitely.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of amazed by the amount of content that I've seen of this game, and still know so little about the intricacies of the game. So they've done a really good job, I think, in putting out trailers without spoiling the gameplay and showing you gameplay without getting too granular and leaving something to be discovered. And honestly, I'm looking at this as a whole, between developer, what they've shown, what they're promising, and so far, I don't think there's anything to dislike. They're taking a lot of risks. They're going with a classic payment model. They're going with an art style that is very unique. And it sounds like they came up with the art style before they decided the game that they were going to set in that style.
Yeah, the art was forefront. I mean, without getting into the weeds, those late kind of mid-late 90s, early 2000s anime, diesel punk, very grim, dark sci-fi future stuff that caught on back when we were in high school. Like that didn't go away. And these
Yeah.
are all people our age that loved that stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm.
If I have one complaint, and it's only a guess, it's that if I look at the system requirements on Steam, the minimum are quite high. Looking at an i7, 16 gigs of RAM, GeForce RTX 2080 Super or Radeon RX 5700 XT, and it will require DirectX 12. So that is in the cusp of my computer being able to run it. So we will see. I will keep my fingers crossed. Hopefully.
That's actually on the cusp of my computer being
Yeah,
able to run it.
it's
I
pretty
have
high.
a 2080 Super.
So
No, that's high, but honestly, it makes sense seeing the visuals that I've seen.
yeah.
I'm hoping that. So a lot of times the minimum system requirements will not be the actual minimum.
Yeah, those are minimum
Yeah.
for running at like decent graphics.
Yeah.
I don't mind kicking shit down to low if the
Right.
game will play fine at 30 FPS, but
Yeah.
I'm not the majority of people.
For sure, and
Yeah.
I put myself in. I wouldn't say the 1% as far as like the demand for the best quality.
Yeah.
I'd say I'm in like the 20 percentile though, where like I do want my games to look nearly as good. There's a you hit a bit of a plateau. There's diminishing returns when
Yeah.
you hit that graphics slider up. So as long as I can get them on high, medium, high, I'm generally fine with that. And that's what it sounds like. That's probably what the minimum requirements are leaning towards, is like a 60 FPS on medium graphical settings, right? At least hopefully. You never know. But yeah, because I mean, I bring this up because I want it to be as accessible and successful as it can be if they deliver on everything they're promising.
It ain't Crisis, so it's got that going for it.
Though there is something physically exciting about being able to set your settings to ultra.